Let's go with Stan and Neil Show.
What's up? Welcome back in to another edition of the Stan and Neil Show. Stan Verrett, Neil Everett here. This is episode number 23. We're back here on a Wednesday. That's where we're going to be moving forward on Wednesdays, live on Twitch and across the digital landscape otherwise. So if you catch the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we're going to be there every Wednesday. Neil, can you tell the fine people how they can subscribe?
Yeah, first, don't call it a comeback. We've been here before. I've been waiting to say that. If you're on Twitch, why don't you become a subscriber? We got 3 levels: Rookie, All Pro, and Hall of Fame. So we got the chat room going up. Shaolin from NYC says, let's go. And Shaolin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, New York City, has subscribed. I'm headed to New York City, Stan, on tomorrow for the Heisman. I'm part of the Heisman. Oh, yeah. I'm part of that team still.
Okay.
And it's great. I get to do a little introduction, welcome introduction to and introduce the Heisman candidates and the previous Heisman winners in attendance.
Okay.
And then Saturday, of course, Chris Fowler handles the show on ESPN where they crown a winner. And then Sunday they have it used to be a championship dinner, but now with fellas having to get to their bowl games, their practices, and all that, they've turned it into a championship brunch.
Okay.
And I get to
Mimosas.
be there we go, bartender. Yeah. So I get to be involved in that. So I'm very honored to be a part of the Heisman and ready to. And I'm on Delta One too. So that's.
Oh yeah,
that's
Delta
good.
One.
That's good.
That's awesome.
That's good living.
Hey, look, you gotta get there. You gotta get to the airport. Have you been to the Delta One Lounge?
Oh yeah.
At
yeah,
LAX?
it's unreal.
At
LAX
get there.
and JFK.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got it both ways.
JFK blows the LAX one away, and the LAX one will blow you away.
Now wait a minute. Really? I got to see this JFK Lounge though, because I love the LAX. Delta One
The
Lounge.
JFK Lounge is 3 times the size of LAX with 3 times the amenities.
It's funny. I saw somebody on social media just a few days ago, and they were in an airport lounge somewhere, and they had like lobster and filet mignon, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm in the airport lounge, and they got lobster and filet mignon." I'm like, "What? Where is this?"
Who should be a sponsor to the Stan and Neil show? Delta. Okay, we were just pumping you up right now. Hey, Stan and Neil show presented by Delta. It sells itself.
Absolutely. Hey, so can you record any of the Heisman stuff, and we can run it on the show next week? I'd like to see some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, but you know what? So what? Like record it with my phone,
or just have somebody record? Like you talk to a few of the guys, and have somebody record it with your phone. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, my phone records almost like a flip phone. Everything's blurry, kind of like me.
Okay.
My phone emulates me. It's blurry.
Do you have an iPhone?
No, I don't. I have an Android.
Okay, I was gonna say if you have an iPhone, I'm betting maybe iPhone 4.
Yeah,
because they're on 17 now, so I'd pencil you in at 4 at this point.
Yeah, if I had an Android, I probably have an Android 4. Yeah, so.
But yeah, or just take some mental notes and come back and report to us. Who do you have winning?
Well, we're not supposed to reveal our ballot, but boy, that Indiana quarterback sure looked good against Ohio State.
I'm not asking you who you voted. You still have a vote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not asking you who you voted for. I'm asking you who you think is going to win.
I think the Indiana kid's going to win after that game against Ohio State.
Mendoza,
I think the Vanderbilt kid might have won prior if things had gone south for Indiana. I think those are your top 2.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of leaning Mendoza too, because number 1 team in the country. He's the quarterback. He's played well. They beat Ohio State to take over number 1. Well timed. Now, what's his Heisman moment? Is it that great catch that kid made a few weeks ago?
That's one of them. Then he had a couple big plays in against Ohio State.
Yep.
And he had what felt like a Heisman moment at Autzen against Oregon. So Yeah, he's, I think, I think he's the favorite. But listen, there's four of them are coming, and all of them are deserving.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love also there, and
Yeah.
who's the other? Who are we missing?
Don't ask.
Ohio State.
Oh
Is he
yeah,
there?
the Ohio State kid.
Julian
Yeah.
Saying. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. So
I'll
so
tell
we
you
will
what's
see.
cool about it. What's
cool
cool
about
about it, Stan?
Yeah.
Well, everything.
Yeah.
But what's super cool is they have like this green room where only the Heisman dudes can hang out.
So it's like the
But
Heisman
because
House for real on the commercial.
Yeah, and so so you walk in there, because I'm part of the, I have some responsibility. I get to go into the.
You can inspect the pageant because you own it. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
And thank you, Bert Parks. You walk into this room and there's Mike Rozier, there's George Rogers, there's Johnny Rogers, there's Chris, Chris Wenke, there's just all Gino Torretta. Gino Torretta is a great guy to hang with.
I mean, just imagine the stories.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. Just the stories that they tell amongst themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Billy Sims, Jim Plunkett, Barry Sanders, all the guys that show up, it's it always gets me that, like, there's, how many Heisman winners are alive? I don't know, say 40, 50.
Okay.
And only maybe 20 of them show up. And I'm like, man, it's like one of the coolest fraternities.
Right.
Only one guy gets in every year.
Yeah.
You're a Heisman, you're basically Heisman Trophy winner. Your name becomes your full name.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's just, I'm so blessed and appreciative to be involved in any capacity.
And you get those checks from Nissan for doing those commercials.
Well, the fellas do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, man, have fun, man. That's a great honor. Well deserved.
Yeah.
This has been like 15, 20 years you've been involved with the Heisman, right?
Well, it dates back to when you and I went to those up fronts in New York, whatever year that was. It was that next year.
Okay.
And then I got a little bit of a break. Yeah. Sox 04 champs is Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow's been there. Nicest guy in the world. As nice a guy as you could ever meet. I've been involved for quite a while, so I'm glad I'm still rolling.
Very cool thing, man. Very cool thing.
Yeah.
All right. Look, week 14 in the NFL, crazy. 15 promises to be the same. But first, let's start with some quarterbacks here. Daniel Jones out for the season for the Colts. Really, really unfortunate thing for them because they've been having a great season, and Jones has reclaimed his career, and now he's out again with another season-ending injury. But it had me going online, Googling crazy things like, has a grandfather ever started an NFL game? And believe it or not, Brett Favre was a grandfather who actually, so Daniel Jones would be the second grandfather to start an NFL game. I'm sorry, not Daniel Jones, Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
Philip Rivers, they've added him to their practice squad, and Philip Rivers will be the second grandfather to start an NFL game if he starts for the Colts on Sunday.
Yeah,
amazing.
There's two stories here. First, like you said, Daniel Jones. That's three seat. There's Philip Rivers. Look at him with the Colts thing on. Philip Rivers played 1 year for the Colts in 2020, and then he retired to spend time with his family, which consists of more children than the old woman in the shoe, if you remember that from way back when. But while he was with the Chargers, and that was San Diego Chargers, I think he was with the LA Chargers for a year, but it's fun to say San Diego Chargers. Shane Steichen, the Colts' current coach, was on the Chargers' coaching staff. And from what I read, they're bros. Okay, so there's the love connection. He's 44. The Colts have fallen to a playoff team for sure, to a playoff team maybe. I mean, Philip Rivers has been out of the game so long. He's eligible on the Hall of Fame ballot this year in 2026.
Right. But then if he plays in a game, then he's gonna
5 more years.
2031. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be crazy.
Poor Daniel Jones, Stan. He's, third season-ending injury in the last 7 years. Tears the Achilles. He was on a 1-year deal. That's just a god-awful injury for an athlete to come back from. And, it usually costs you a whole year. And so then you're like, well, who else do the Colts have? Why do they got to go get Phillip Rivers? Daniel Jones wasn't their only quarterback. Well, Riley Leonard is questionable with an injury. Anthony Richardson, the first rounder, former starter, he's out with an injury. Brett Rippon, apparently not the answer. And Mark Rippon, apparently not answering the phone. But Mark Rippon, I grew up with Mark Rippon. Great dude. And now whoever if it's Leonard, if he's able to go, or if it's Philip Grandpa Rivers going against the Seahawks and their defense. Not that there's any gimmies in the NFL, but you wouldn't pick them for your first one back after 5 years.
No, that'll send you right back into retirement very quickly. Let me go see what's going on the couch.
Yeah.
So hey, it'll be a spectacle. If he starts and plays, it'll definitely be something fun to watch. But you just feel for the Colts. I mean, this was a great season they were having. Not that it's over, because who knows. But they had that Anthony Richardson had like a freak accident, broke his orbital bone when a band snapped and hit him in the face. So
what happened to him?
I
didn't realize.
Yeah, it's been a weird year for the Colts. So we'll see what happens with their quarterback situation.
Who was the oldest quarterback to ever start a game?
I'm going to say George Blanda.
You know what? That's correct, but it's to ever start a game at quarterback. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So oldest player to ever start a game at any position.
George Blanda, no, at quarterback, because George Blanda stayed in the game, but he was a kicker only.
Now I'm really confused.
So there came a time when George Blanda would have been the correct answer, but then he went he was quarterback and kicker.
Right.
Then he was only the kicker.
Okay.
So who's the oldest quarterback to ever start a game?
Earl Morrall?
Good guess, but wrong. Tom Brady.
Wow. Tom Brady
was 45 and a half his last playoff game, and he took the previous record holders were Steve DeBerg and Vinny Testaverde.
So now why does 46 jump out for George Blanda?
Well, because he was probably a kicker at 46, not a quarterback.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, Shedeur Sanders, also a topic of conversation this week. He's the first player I read since 1950 for the Browns with at least 350 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes, and 1 rushing score in a game. He joined Cincinnati's Joe Burrow as the only rookie quarterback to ever do that. And so his total 364 yards, 3 touchdowns in his third start, also ran for that score that we mentioned. I mean, so now look, it's against the Titans. Okay, but again, that's an NFL team, and other quarterbacks have played the Titans and not done that well. So it really says a lot about Shedeur Sanders' ability, and it makes you wonder if Cleveland shouldn't have gone to him earlier in the season. Your thoughts?
Well, this whole the Browns are sabotaging Shedeur Sanders is
I don't believe that.
I don't either, and I'm tired of hearing about it. Listen, he looked good against the Titans. In that game, they lost. He threw a horrible ball that was picked and set up Tennessee's go-ahead score. He's saying all the right things to be named the starter, and in his future. Said his focus was on his team, on the team that Cleveland's playing, the Bears. The Bears lead the NFL in interceptions, by the way. They picked off 18 passes. When they say they should have gone with him earlier, well, there's a reason that they didn't. And we're not at those practices and those team meetings and all that. So clearly they thought that Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel were better choices when those fellows were healthy than Shedeur Sanders. And hopefully Shedeur, the thing is, this should, you know what it's become? Shedeur Sanders, it's become a what if conversation, and it should be a what can be conversation. Like everybody's looking in the rear view at Shedeur Sanders instead of looking out the front and saying, hey, this kid has got a big, bright future. Instead of, hey, why wasn't he starting in week 1? Well, because the coaching staff didn't feel like he was the best quarterback on the team.
See, and here's the other thing. We talk about the jump that quarterbacks make from year 1 to year 2. Okay. So we're in week 15 now. So he essentially has been in the NFL now for almost a full season. Okay. And you look at what Tyler Shough is doing with the Saints right now. Okay. Tyler Shough didn't start until a few weeks ago, but I can tell you, he got better behind the scenes. He got better while he wasn't playing. They apparently worked with him on some of the things that he needed to correct because he looks like a different player than he did in preseason. Okay, so maybe it's the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. Maybe Shedeur Sanders, everybody talked about how he goes to this other high school. He goes to this high school in Cleveland to get extra work done after practice. And so maybe it's as simple as that he's better and better equipped for the NFL game now after having gotten a taste of it in practice and with the scout team and doing all the other things that he's doing behind the scenes, and that now he's better than he was. And it's no more complicated than that. He's been a quick study. And he's able to perform now at a level where he couldn't before. And now the coaching staff has come out and said he's going to start the rest of the season. So maybe this is what it took to win their confidence, to get better behind the scenes.
Yeah, and there's not a group of analysts going like the Saints were sabotaging his career by not starting him at the beginning of the season.
No. Look, there were people in both camps. There were people in the Spencer Rattler camp. I was one of them. And there were people in the Tyler Shough camp who said it should have been Shough from the beginning. But I think the Saints did the right thing on both accords. They started Rattler because he was ahead of Shough, but then when they felt like Shough was ready, they put him in. So maybe it's the same thing now, exacerbated in Cleveland by the fact that they've had these injuries and Sanders wasn't battling to start. He was battling to be a backup, in preseason. But now, like you said, here he is. Okay. So now what happens moving forward?
Well, it's also exacerbated by the fact that Cleveland is a deathbed for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So New Orleans isn't. New Orleans got a Super Bowl and they had Drew Brees and they got a little reputation. What goes forward? Well, hopefully he plays well and then he then comes the next season and he maybe comes into camp that's his job to lose. It's going to be somebody's to lose and maybe it's his.
See, and here's the thing: you get a quarterback who can make plays, who's an established, competent NFL starter on a rookie deal, man, it really helps your cap in a lot of other places, especially a 5th-round pick. Really helps your cap in a lot of other places. So the Browns could wind up, in a really, really advantageous situation if he's the guy. So we'll see. But he's got a month to show what he can do, and they've said the ball's in his hand the rest of the way. So here's his opportunity. For everybody.
Go be the man. Go be the man.
Exactly. You're the man. Here's your chance to be the man. So let's see how he does. I think he's a confident kid. I think he's ready to bet on himself. And if he doesn't hold on to the ball too long, gets it out of his hand the way we saw him do in for most of that game, I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's got a lot of natural ability. And just needed to get acclimated to the NFL. Looks like he's done it. So we'll see. It'll be something fun to watch because there's so many people.
He's got a Super Bowl. He's got a Super Bowl smile. That's for sure.
Yeah. And look, there's so many people invested on both sides of this that it's going to be something very interesting to watch because there's so many people who are engaged. Like some people are like, oh, he's not any good and he's too cocky and yada, 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 yada. And then, some people just came up with lies about him to buttress those arguments. And then there are other people who are like, oh, he's the greatest player ever. Like Perk Perk said, Kendrick Perkins, a former guy, and I don't know if he's saying this tongue in cheek or what, but he said he's the most important black man since Barack Obama. Which I got a whole lot of other people on that list before we get to Shedeur. Okay. And I don't even know, like, how are they even in the same category? You know? But he's like that's how much Shedeur Sanders has rallied black people behind his cause. But I can tell you, black people in Cincinnati are behind him. Black people in Pittsburgh aren't behind him. Black people in Baltimore are behind him. So that may be a bit of an overstatement there. But I understand the gist of what he's saying, because so many people felt like he got a raw deal, and being black in America, sometimes when you see somebody get a raw deal, you're like, oh, that looks familiar, so we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. All right. Bills, Patriots. I've been waiting for this one, man.
Here we go.
I've been waiting for this one. What do you have?
Yeah, Pats win. They win the division. Something the Bills have done the last 5 seasons. They'll probably even win it if they lose to the Bills, unless they completely fall apart. To cling against the Bills, get that much sweeter for guys like Robert Kraft and Mike Vrabel. Some of the players are okay if we clinch it against the Jets, as long as we clinch it. Pats riding a 10-game win streak. Drake May and Stephon Diggs were in week 5. They really blitzed the Bills. They were quite the duo.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo's defense is problematic in general. I mean, if you saw the Cincinnati game, they gave up, what was it, 35-34, the final. Don't have it written down.
I think it's 39-34. You're close. You're in the neighborhood. I'm not sure you're in the right house, but you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Thank you, Mercury. I read this quote from a Bills fan. I'm going to read it here. It's a couple sentences long.
All right.
This is the guy's name was, I want to give him credit. His handle was Lone Wolf 88.
Okay.
And he or she said, and I'm quoting, "Which team shows up? The soft, ill-prepared, highly outcoached, unmotivated prima donnas waiting to shoot their next commercial, or the focused, we will show you what we are made of team with a head coach and some assistants prepared and game plan to win." That's the frustration of being a Bills fan. They're like watching a horror movie with one eye open and the other covered with your hand, waiting for the chainsaw. That's a great quote.
It really is. It really is. And, look, you look at this right now, where things are in the NFL and what this season means now for Josh Allen. Okay? Because he's got a lot of pressure on him to deliver that Super Bowl title this season now. Okay? Looks like he won't have to deal with Patrick Mahomes unless the Chiefs go on a big run here. If he does, he'll get him in Buffalo if the Chiefs even make the playoffs, because it looks like the Bills will be in a better position than Kansas City. No Joe Burrow, because the Bengals are not going to make it. Maybe no Lamar Jackson. Colts were looking like a threat. Now there's no Daniel Jones there. Okay. So now what does he have left? Okay. You got the Broncos, the 1 seed. You got Bo Nix. You got the Patriots with Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, Justin Herbert with the Chargers, and then the Bills in the 6th seed right now, and then C.J. Stroud with the Texans. Okay. Of those quarterbacks, Josh Allen is the most accomplished, wouldn't you say? Of the quarterbacks in the playoffs right now.
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, right. Okay.
But Josh Allen is the car that's tuned up the greatest right now.
He's the best guy. Right. Most accomplished was not a good choice of words. Thank you for your correction. You're absolutely right. Not most accomplished. Best positioned, I should say.
Yeah.
In terms of expectations. Okay.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he's the reigning MVP.
Right. The Bills have to deliver this year. I mean, they've been gifted all of what I just mentioned. All these guys who look like they're out, okay? But the problem is Drake May. is arriving ahead of schedule. And, you look at all these guys who have been in the shadow of Mahomes, like Lamar Jackson, like Burrow, like Josh Allen. Okay. They've all been in Mahomes. And now here comes Drake May, who looks like he's the real deal. And he's got that Patriot infrastructure behind him. And he's got Vrabel coaching. And again, he's on a rookie deal. Okay. So the Patriots are going to have more money to spend to build around him because he's not eating up as big a chunk of the salary cap as Mahomes or Allen or some of these other guys. And so, look, Sunday is huge for Buffalo. I mean, this is huge for Buffalo because they have to try to fend off this threat from New England. Now, I don't know if they can find a way to win the division. They need a lot. They need a lot to happen. And then if they go in as a wild card, they're gonna have to go on the road somewhere and try to win. So this is Josh Allen's best shot, I think, to get it done. And because of that, I think there's a lot of pressure on him to get it done.
I think there's a lot of pressure on the coaching staff too, because I don't think
Absolutely.
if they don't get it done, I think they're done.
Yeah, because they're not going to waste Allen's prime if they don't believe that the coaches can get it done. Yeah. And I think the defensive coaches, to your point, are really on the hook, especially the run game. If they go in and run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, then there could be a reckoning with that Bills defense. So we'll see. That's another great game to watch. Then how about Packers and Broncos? New England on a 10-game win streak, and the Broncos too, right?
Yeah, Broncos have won 10 straight too, and they're the lead horse in the AFC. This game's at Denver, Stan.
Yep.
Right? Guess what? Green Bay's favored by 2.5.
Really? So that means okay, let's go over the Neil Everett wagering system here. Okay, so Green Bay is on the road, but they're favored by 2.5
at Denver, who's won 10 in a row.
At Denver. So, first of all, one of the things you said, home field is usually 3 points, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means they're really favored by 5.5 if you take away the 3 points that Denver gets for being at home. Is that right?
No, because Green Bay would have 0 on its side, and Denver would have favored by 3.
Okay.
So basically, they're eliminating the home field advantage for Denver and saying Green Bay is favored, and they are begging you to bet Denver.
So they're begging you to bet Denver because Green Bay's favored. And so because they're begging you to bet Denver, because they're begging you to bet Denver, you have to bet Green Bay.
You have to bet Green Bay.
If you're betting, right?
Yeah, which we're not, but we're pretending.
Yeah. So now I'm not sure I understand that spread. I'm not, I don't bet on any sports.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I follow it and I understand it. And there's no judgment for people who do. But I don't understand, how do you make the Packers 2.5-point favorites? Do you get it?
Well, no, and most of the people online were like, "Wow, the Packers are favored." So that's a group of that locks itself in a basement in Las Vegas and sets the line, and the hope is that 50% of the people bet on Green Bay and the other 50% bet on Denver, and that way the juice or the vig is guaranteed. So that surprised me. I thought Denver would be favored by 2.5.
Is that basement you speak of next to the basement where they keep the people who don't pay off their wagers? Is that those two basements adjacent?
they may be. Yeah.
There's a big lock on
shovel
one from the outside, right?
Yeah, there's a shovel in the other one. Yeah.
No, that's gonna be a fascinating game too. I mean, Bo Nix has been great at improv, throwing on the run and making plays happen when plays break down. And there are going to be some plays that break down when Micah Parsons and those guys get after him. So that's going to be a really interesting duel between the Packers defense and that pass rush and Sean Payton trying to put Nix in the best place to win.
Yeah, Denver ran the ball well against Las Vegas in its last game, and I'm not sure that's the best example, but that was the team on the schedule. And the point being, which you brought up, if you can run against Green Bay, you can neutralize Micah Parsons and his pass rushing buddies from sacking your butt. So, but then again, Bonita is going to chase Love around all night too. So you've got when you study these two teams, they are very similar in offensive and defensive numbers.
Yep.
And Packers coming off that big win against the Bears after division wins over the Vikings and Lions, and Denver beat the Texans defense, the Cowboys offense. They beat the Chiefs' magical powers, and then they beat the Eagles, but that was before the Eagles collapsed. But they keep their fans on the edge of their seats, and this feels like it's going to be a tight ball game and a can't miss game to watch.
Absolutely. TV's getting a workout this weekend. Seahawks and Colts, we talked about the Daniel Jones situation, and we may see Phillip Rivers, grandpa, starting for the Colts. But I don't think it matters against the Seahawks. Man, the Seahawks are really, really good. And my man Rashid Shaheed, former Saint, took one to the house last week. He brings an added
he was
dimension.
Be a difference maker.
Yeah, he's fast, and I think the Seahawks are really hitting their groove. Seahawks and Rams, man, they're both looking really, really tough to beat. If Sam Darnold plays the way he's played most of the time last year in Minnesota and this year in Seattle, with that defense, I think they're pretty good. I mean, they put it on the Falcons last week, 37-9. Absolute joy to watch that. Anytime
I'm sure that broke your heart.
Anytime anybody beats Atlanta like that, it's fun for us Saints fans. And so man, Seahawks look really good. 1 minute I look at it and I'm like, man, it's the Seahawks. And then the next minute I look at it, I'm like, no, it's the Rams. And I give the Rams the advantage because of Matthew Stafford. I think you know what you're going to get with Matthew Stafford, except for the one game against Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Throw that one out. Everybody gets one mulligan. But other than that, man, he's been fantastic. And Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams together are just such a great duo because Nacua does all the dirty work, goes over the middle, catches balls, takes hits from 2 or 3 guys before he goes down. Okay. Then you get in the red zone, and Devontae Adams is almost automatic in the red zone. It's almost like you talk about the Chiefs' magical powers. He's got magical powers in the red zone because he doesn't even run complicated routes. Sometimes it's a quick slant, sometimes it's a fade, but every time it's a touchdown. And I'm like, nobody can cover that. It's like every week it's a fade or it's a slant and it's a touchdown. And it's almost like you look at the DBs, it's like they're frozen. And I don't know if it's because they don't know which one it's going to be. Like maybe he gives the same look coming off the line, whether it's a fade or a slant. And so the DB's kind of frozen trying to figure out which one it's going to be, and then when they throw it his way, he catches it. So with those two guys, and then the Rams have been running this 3 tight end formation that everybody talks about now, where they bring in 3 tight ends. And what do you think when you see 3 tight ends?
Run,
right. But they throw it. Okay. And it gives them a big advantage because, first of all, you can't get to them. They got 3 tight ends, so they got extra blocking. Okay. And then 1 guy or 2 guys release. And then they got the 5 offensive linemen and the other tight end to stay in and block. So he's got 6 blockers, so you can't get to him. And the 2 tight ends get out in the route. And then they just carve you up. So a lot of this is McVay too, but Stafford's the one driving the car. And Rams look really, really good. A Seahawks-Rams NFC Championship game would be fantastic.
Well, we're going to be talking Seahawks-Rams next Wednesday because they play next week. But Seattle's got the Colts this week, as we said. Will it be Phillip Rivers and what Sam Darnold shows up? That's the thing for the Seahawks. Sweaty 6267, I believe, is a Seahawks fan in the chat. I was reading up on this game, and so the 22. This is kind of a good story.
Okay.
I thought 2023 draft, okay? The Colts have the 4th pick because they had been god-awful. The Seahawks had the 5th pick because Denver and Russ Wilson had been god-awful, okay? They had traded Wilson to Denver.
Yep.
All right. Now, with the 4th pick, the Colts choose Anthony Richardson, who's never materialized in Baltimore, in Indianapolis, and is out now. Right. Seattle admitted afterwards, hey, man, they were very high. Pete Carroll saying Richardson was arguably the best athlete to ever be drafted at the quarterback position. And so maybe Richardson goes to Seattle and shines, because we've talked about, it's the location where guys are. Daniel Jones stinks as a Giant. Maybe that's part of that's on the coaching staff. He comes to the Colts and, he's the comeback player of the year until he goes down with the injury. So, Sam Darnold went to Minnesota, then San Francisco, then Seattle after bombing with the Jets. So Richardson goes to the Hawks. Seattle selects Devon Richardson, defensive rookie of the year and Pro Bowler, a nightmare for whoever starts at the Colts. And I was thinking if they can't get Phillip Rivers out of retirement, what about the Ruston Rifle, Burt Jones? Do you think he's ready to go?
No, I don't think Burt Jones would be ready to go. No. I don't think so. But this Phillip Rivers situation, it's either going to be the greatest story ever, or it's going to be comedy.
Or it's good.
It's going to be comedy, or it's going to be the greatest story ever. I'm really interested to see how it goes.
Yeah. As long as it's not, they brought the stretcher onto the field. You don't want Phillip Rivers to get hurt. Oh
no, we don't want that. We don't want that. All right, we ready to go Lions Rams?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you said some good stuff on the Rams. I'll talk about first of all, the Rams clinch a playoff berth with a win. They're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. They have the best odds to win the Super Bowl, according to The Athletic, at 16%. A lot of folks, me included, thought that you'd be saying all those things about Detroit at this time of the season. And the Lions don't even have a seat at the playoff table right now. There's 7 seats. They're standing because they're the 8th seed right now. They have about a 50% chance to make the playoffs, according to the calculator I used. Detroit's beat up on the offensive line. They're beat up in the defensive backfield. They should be rested. They haven't won. They beat Dallas. They haven't won back-to-back games since week 4 and 5. They're 8-5. They got the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, and Bears, last 2 on the road. They need, the analysts say they need 11 wins to make it, which means they got to win 3 of their final 4. It's always fun to watch that game because you mentioned Stafford. Stafford traded for Goff, and that was kind of a hey, shout out J. Tom C. Just subscribed. Right on, man. Look at that.
What's up, J. Tom C? Thanks.
You get your name shouted out. Rams are the only team, Stan, with the top 5 defense by points per game and a top 5 offense in points scored. I think the Rams are really good right now. I think you're spot on when you talked about, when you spoke highly of the Rams.
I think they're gonna win it all. I was big on the Ravens, but it's just Baltimore's not right, and I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs. So now I'm audibling, I'm flexing in the Rams. I'm flexing into the Rams as my new Super Bowl pick, but they're really good, and like Detroit, it's kind of hard to figure out what happened. Besides, like, the obvious appears to be that Ben Johnson leaves and goes to Chicago, and all of a sudden Chicago's tied for the division lead, and Caleb Williams is doing enough to get them to 9 wins, and Detroit takes a step back. And then you had the situation where Dan Campbell took over the play calling. So maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe the guy calling the plays left for Chicago, and their benefit is Detroit's loss, because they're a game up on Detroit right now. So are the Packers. So tough road to go for Detroit. But we saw Detroit go into Kansas City, it was earlier this season, when the Chiefs really, really had to have a win, and the Chiefs played pretty much a perfect game. And I think that's what it's going to take for Detroit to try to beat the Rams. They're going to have to play nearly a perfect game, and that's really difficult against the Rams. They really invested in their pass rush the last couple of years, and that's really paid off. Byron Young and Jared Verse are just game wreckers when they get in your backfield, and so they've just put it all together, And it just seems like every year in the beginning of the season, we don't really talk about the Rams. Nobody really talks about the Rams,
Yeah.
And then as the season goes on, they just get better and better. And now I feel like they're hitting on all cylinders. So we'll see. And they had the down week against Carolina. Stafford had some turnovers in that game, a couple of interceptions and a fumble. And Carolina got him. Bryce Young played out of his mind. And so they've had their mulligan. They know they need to be on guard. They can't let it get boring where they just think they roll the ball out and everything's going to take care of itself. So I think that might have been a good loss. As far as good losses go, that might have been a good loss for them because I think it gets their attention for the stretch run.
Yeah, Detroit fans hoping that their Lions play well and the Rams maybe have one eye on Seattle next week, and they're able to escape LA with a win. But that is
trap game,
that is
the old trap game.
Big ask for the Lions.
All right, how much do you trust the Steelers? Beat the Ravens, take control of the AFC North. How much do you trust Pittsburgh?
More than I do the Ravens now. I mean, Lamar Jackson's not right, man.
No,
he's just not right, Stan.
No, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's just regressing. I don't know. Pittsburgh, the rest of the way, has Dolphins Monday night. They go to Detroit, they go to Cleveland, and then they play Baltimore the last game of the season. And so the Ravens have to hope that that's for the division title because Baltimore has, let's see here. Baltimore has Cincinnati on Sunday, then home with New England in town, at Green Bay, and then at Pittsburgh. So Baltimore definitely has the tougher road. So they have to hope that they can get to Week 18 in Pittsburgh with a chance to win the division. That's got to be their plan.
I mean, I say the Steelers beat Miami. They're 8-6. They lose at a desperate Lions. They're 8-7. They beat the Browns. They're 9-7. Then they go to the Ravens. Baltimore 6-7 beats the Bengals. They're 7-7. Beats the Patriots, who have already clinched. They're 8-7. Lose at the Packers. They're 8-8. And then host Pittsburgh. Have to win. They'll be tied. They'll both be 9-8. They'll both be 9-8. They split the head-to-head. They'll be tied looking at division games. And the third tiebreaker, and this is something a lot of people didn't know, but I read about today.
All right. School us.
The third, pickled this one after the cat. The third tiebreaker is Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh arm wrestle. And the winner advances. And I think that's really progressive of the NFL to throw that in. That's a lot of people are going to watch that.
No, it's conference record, isn't it? Division record, then conference record.
Then it's I think it's same opponents.
Head-to-head, division record, conference record?
Yeah, and then it might be the same opponents.
Okay.
But there's the last decider for a tiebreaker
is a coin, right? A coin toss. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It came down to that. Was that in college? That it can't. There was something that came down to it. Okay, so here we go. Break a tie within a division, head to head.
Yeah.
Division games. Oh, and then common opponents, and then conference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then strength of victory in all games. Strength of schedule in all games, best combined ranking among conference teams in points scored and points allowed, best combined ranking among all teams in points scored and points allowed, in all games. So it's conference teams and all. Then best net points in common games, best net points in all games, best net touchdowns in all games. And then if you're still tied after 11 tiebreakers, okay, it's heads or tails.
Tell me my arm wrestling idea isn't better than some of that other crap you were just reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. All right. Now to move on to college football. Before we get to the college football playoff, we have to talk about some breaking news happened right before we came on the air here, and that is Sharon Moore out at Michigan after 2 years. He, of course, replaced Jim Harbaugh when Jim Harbaugh went to the Chargers, and now he is out after what appears to be an inappropriate relationship with a staffer at Michigan, and so they're going to be able to fire him with cause, which means that he won't get paid. Apparently, I think his buyout was at $16 million, but he's not going to get any of it because they're firing him with cause. So now, first of all, if he had beaten Ohio State this year and made the college football playoff, do you think that becomes a suspension at that point?
No, it's too serious of a subject, and it's, people will make fun of it, and but there's obviously a power dynamic involved anytime it's a person of authority.
Yep.
A football coach at Michigan, that definitely qualifies for that. He survived the sign stealing scandal, and then he filled in for Jim Harbaugh when Harbaugh was suspended, and the quality of your life is built upon the quality of your decisions.
Okay.
And
that's a bar. That's a bar.
You assume it's true because you assume Michigan did its due diligence.
Yep.
And that's a horrible, horrible decision that Coach Moore made. I mean, I got on the Michigan website for the football team. I mean, his bio's already scratched. He's gone.
Wow.
Gone. Erased. Biff Poggi is the associate head coach. I mean, that Michigan, Texas in Orlando, December 31st, the Citrus Bowl. I mean, that was one of the few non CFP games or whatever they call them, that was going to be really, really interesting. And, it's sickening, and it's sad.
Yeah. My point is not that. It's just maybe I'm just so cynical at this point about college football in general that you just say, okay,
college football is giving you every reason to be cynical.
Right. As serious as that is, right? Yeah. If he makes the college football playoff, does it get wiped under the rug? But I think you have a good point. I think Michigan is maybe enough of an institution in terms of being able to see things bigger than football. Has a great academic reputation, and you always hear the Michigan man and everything that's supposed to entail. And if he fell short of that, maybe hey, we don't feel like you're a good representative of a Michigan man and the face of the football program. So yeah, look, if these allegations are true and they're acting out of integrity, then yeah, they're doing the right thing for their program. But a name that keeps coming up, and I'm not sure the exact connection, but Kalen DeBoer's name keeps coming up. The coach at Alabama.
Really?
His name keeps coming up.
Then Lane Kiffin will leave LSU for Alabama.
No. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what if that Alabama job did open up? Okay, let's say if they lose to Oklahoma, if Alabama loses to Oklahoma in the college football playoff, some folks in Tuscaloosa may be sending his resume to Ann Arbor for him. Hey, have you heard about this DeBoer guy? Heard he's pretty good. You guys might want to look into him, if they lose to Oklahoma. So, yeah, here's the article from USA Today. Michigan football's hiring bar is Kalen DeBoer. Clear it or hire him. Blake Topmeyer in USA Today. So why is
That's interesting.
Kalen DeBoer the hiring benchmark for Michigan? His successful transition to Alabama. So maybe they're saying, I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, that would be that would be a seismic shift in college football if Kalen DeBoer were to leave Alabama, because then where does Alabama go? Do they really have the gumption to reach out to Lane and say, hey, look, now or never?
Dream job.
The same way LSU told him in Mississippi, hey, look, it's now or never. You got to take it now or never. Does Alabama do the same thing? We're way down the road here. We're way down the road, but it is fascinating to think about because, that it's a crazy situation. It really is a crazy situation if Alabama loses, because I don't know if they could look around the country if they lose and say, we know a guy who can fix this, who's available right now. Like, I think they gotta give Kalen DeBoer some more time, even if they really don't want to.
Yeah. Some program is going to be left going like, what? The coach and staff and recruits and all, and Alabama to Michigan is, those are two heavyweight prize fighters.
Yeah.
But if it becomes the way Matt Campbell went to Penn State, for example, then that's a definite that's a step up. No slight to Iowa State. It just is. Jimmy Rogers leaving Washington State for Iowa State. He has to take that job.
Yeah.
Somebody's, if they think they've got a young and up and coming coach, that Michigan's going to go like, this guy's going to be our next Bo Schembechler. That guy's going to leave whatever program, like, oh, damn, man, at this time of year, Penn State hired late. Now Michigan's going to hire even later, and all the ramifications that follow that for the program that gets left at the altar.
On threes, Pete Nakos, I'm reading here from Sports Illustrated, from their website. DeBoer expected to be a factor in Michigan's coaching search. Time will tell if Michigan has more success with luring DeBoer to the Big Ten than Penn State did in recent weeks. I don't know what the connection is. I mean, his name keeps coming up, and I don't know what the connection is. I don't know if he was an assistant there. I don't know. So now Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri supposedly also could be involved. Jed Fish at Washington.
A lot of people thought Fish was leaving Washington for UCLA or Florida.
How about Brian Kelly resurfacing at Michigan? Kenny Dillingham, who's turned things around at Arizona State.
Former Oregon offensive coordinator.
So yeah, we will see if. What about Mike Elko, Texas A&M? Is Michigan a better job than Texas A&M?
Ooh, I don't know. The SEC's got all the pull.
That's a tough
Michigan. Yeah, probably, but I don't know that you would leave.
I think you got it. Do you have an easier road to the playoff in the Big Ten than the SEC at this point? I'm not really sure it's that much easier, because now with Indiana's emergence, I mean, you got Ohio State, Michigan. Well, you take Michigan out of the equation. We're talking about them. You got Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana now. I don't think Penn State's going to stay down for long.
USC is, got to be
USC.
considered.
Yeah. UCLA is going to try to do some things now with Chesney coming in. So SEC probably still harder, but it's not a whole lot harder. It's not a whole lot harder given the Big 18, as you call them, with so many teams. Some of them are bound to be good. You got 18 cracks at it.
Come on, Iowa.
Some of them are going to be good every year.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this this playoff bracket.
Yeah.
Your Oregon Ducks, the 5 seed, taking on JMU. Yep. I would imagine you feel pretty good about that one.
Well, they're 22-point favorites, so it's at Autzen. It's going to be, it's going to be Animal House revisited. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. I wish I could be there. It's if they get by JMU, they almost the thought was they were going to get Tulane until I can't remember what the circumstances were, but anyhow, JMU. But I was looking at Oregon, if Oregon beats JMU and then they play Texas. So, I mean, they got planes, trains, and automobiles, Stan. They go to if they beat JMU, they go to the Orange Bowl in Miami to play Texas Tech. If they beat Texas Tech, they go to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta to play whomever, probably Indiana. If they win that, then they go back to Miami for the title game. It's like 15,000 air miles or 18,000 plus driving miles. So I don't know I don't know if the Ducks they don't have the hardest road, but they have the longest road to get to that title game.
Okay, so here is something that I threw out on social media earlier this week, and I'll try to back it up here. But what you said, okay, so Oregon 22.5-point favorites over James Madison. Okay, Mississippi is about a 17.5-point favorite over Tulane. They're in the 11-6 game. Okay, yeah. Now you want to reward JMU and Tulane for having great seasons. Okay, they deserve to be in the college football playoff as it's currently constructed. I have no argument with that. Okay, but if things go according to plan, and there's no guarantee they're going to go according to plan, but when you're a 22-point favorite, and another game is an 18-point spread, and you're in the playoff, it just feels like two of these things are not like the other. And that is no disrespect to JMU or Tulane, who have earned the right to be there under the current system. But my thought is that this system is broken now. And it's not broken in the way a lot of people think it is. Okay? I think it's broken because you're not giving Tulane and JMU a real chance to win the national championship the way it's currently constructed. Okay? Let's say JMU pulls a shocker of a lifetime and they beat Oregon. Okay? Can they pull 4 shockers in a row and win a national championship? I mean, it's almost impossible. Okay, I would think, for a JMU or a Tulane. Again, not saying they don't deserve the opportunity, because they do. Under the current system, they got in because they're supposed to get in. Okay? But I think now, the way college football has moved now with NIL and with these salary caps that teams have to pay players, Group of 5 and Power 4 are just 2 separate ball games now. They're 2 separate ball games, and so they should be separated. There should be a Group of 5 playoff, and there should be a Power 4 playoff. It just means more football for all of us, okay? And it means that a JMU and a Tulane have a chance to win a national championship. Not just, hey, you had a great season, here's your chance to go get blown out in the playoff. If not in the first game, in the second game. Okay? But realistically, you have no chance to win the national championship. Okay? So it's almost like, I hear people say, hey, well, Tulane beat USC in a bowl game a couple years ago. Right. It's a bowl game, not a playoff game. You got kids opting out for the bowl game. Some kids looking at it as just a glorified vacation. Other kids looking at it like, oh, man, we're playing Tulane. We're going to beat them. We don't have to really worry about this, or, whatever. Other guys thinking about the NFL, they're not worried about this game. Okay, totally different scenario. Okay, yeah, Tulane could beat a USC in that situation if Tulane's all in for the game and USC is treating it like a vacation. Okay, that's not going to happen in a college football playoff game. Okay, so now I did a little research to back up these numbers. Okay, so now I did a search for NCAA finances, revenue and expenses by school. Okay, how far down that list of schools do you think you have to go before you get to a group of 5 school? Top schools in revenue in college.
You mean
How far
a
down
group
that
of
list?
4?
Huh?
You mean the second tier, the JMUs and the Tulanes?
Yeah. Group of 5. Group of 5 outside of
Yeah.
Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC. How far down this list do you think you have to go before you get to a group of 5 school that is not in one of those 4 conferences?
1834.
What number?
46. I'm going to say 67.
No, 52. UCF, Central Florida, comes in at number 52 in revenue. Okay? They're playing a totally different game. Then the top 51 schools are all Power 4 schools, and it's only going to increase now because of the way college football is structured moving forward with these NIL deals and everything. Okay, let's get to James Madison is number 62. Okay? And they're playing Oregon, and Oregon is number 19. Okay? Oregon's athletic department revenue is $153 million. Okay? JMU's athletic department revenue is $57 million. So Oregon's tripling what they're making on football compared to JMU. Okay, and JMU is a great group of 5 program. They won under Signetti, won under Chesney, right? And so that's a great program. Okay, so think about all the other schools who they don't have a prayer. They have a prayer of making the playoff, and if they get to the playoff, you're gonna get blown out. I mean, it's not fair to them to have what is otherwise a great season end the way it's likely going to end. And they can say, yeah, we made the playoff. Okay, so what? You deserve a chance to compete for a title after a season like that. So the same way there's championship subdivision, used to be 1AA. I think now it's time for another split where you have Power 4, and then you can have a 12-team playoff, and you get 3 teams from each one of those conferences. Okay? And then then you don't have to argue about whether JMU should be in and not Notre Dame, or Tulane should be in and not Notre Dame. It fixes a lot of the problems. And again, it's more football at a space. I mean, think about if you're a Tulane player or a JMU player getting ready for this game this week. Okay? You can have the greatest week of practice that you've ever had. Okay? You can run your best plays with your best players, okay? And it might not make a difference because you're not on the same tier with the programs you're playing against, okay? But if you're JMU playing Tulane, think about how much better a game that is, which is what we could have if we have a group of 5 playoff and a Power 4 playoff, okay? And then there's no need to expand to 16 or 32 or 100 teams because you got however many teams you got in those Power 4 conferences. 12-team playoff makes sense. You could even reduce it to 8 at that point. You can reduce it to 8, and it still makes sense, as opposed to 12, where you got two schools that are like, "Hey, congratulations, now take your beating." What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things. One, that would put an end to Notre Dame's whining, okay, because they would have gotten in.
Yep.
I think they're never going to go back. They're never going to go to 8. They're going to go to 16. And I love your point because it gives us a whole nother group of football to watch. Like
Right.
Washington State is playing for the championship of its group of 5. That's big news. That's big in the Palouse, Oregon State. Stuff like that. I think you take your idea and then you also fold in these conference championships into almost a play-in into the as part of the CFP, so we can, because that's another problem. It's not as big a problem. It's not as big a problem that you touched on, but I hadn't heard that idea that you touched on, and I think it's an excellent idea from fan perspective, from players perspective, and from revenue perspective, which is the biggest perspective of all.
Absolutely. And, it's a fair fight. It's a fair fight.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you start looking at football revenue, once you get down into the 50s and 60s, okay, you got Cincinnati, AAC at 55, Houston at 56, AAC, Air Force, Mountain West, San Diego State, UNLV, Memphis, Colorado State, James Madison, South Florida. Like, once you get down into the 50s and 60s in terms of revenue, there's no Power 4 schools left. They're all gone. And so it just goes, and that disparity is only going to increase. JMU has the highest student fees in the country because they use that student fee money to help fund football, help fund athletics. Okay. And so that's how they try to keep pace by using student fee money. Now, what if you're a student who wants to go to JMU, you don't care anything about sports? I mean, you're being taxed for that so that they can keep pace. And I understand them wanting to keep pace. They moved from championship subdivision to bowl subdivision, but this is not sustainable the way that it is. And I don't think it's good for a James Madison or a Tulane to have the great season that they've had and for it to end the way that it's likely to end. I mean, it doesn't do them any good. And, people are like, I saw one respondent when I originally posted this who said, there's too many divisions now. And I'm like, no, there's not. I mean, look at your average state high school playoffs. Like in California, I don't even know how many divisions they have here in California. I mean, have you ever looked at that? There's got to be like 12.
Oh yeah. I mean, the school I went to used to compete at the highest level in the state of Washington. Now they don't anymore. It's because so many schools have been built and attendance gone up here, down here, and think about
that's
a great point.
We got a college football playoff doubleheader. We got a group of 5 game between JMU and Tulane, and then we got the Power 4 playoffs coming up after that. I'm watching both games. I'm watching both of them.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's good football both ways.
Oregon Vanderbilt is on paper much better, much more compelling than Oregon JMU.
Exactly, and it's not going to be a 22-point spread there.
No,
it's not. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And so, I think it's better for everybody. I know there's some kind of money angle in here that I'm not allowing for that will probably prevent it from happening. But I just think it's better for college football. And when's the last time we had something that was better for college football than what we've had?
Yeah. To your point, where we're talking, yeah.
And
it's far too much common sense, they'll never do it.
If there are any powers that be who would like to implement this system, I am available for a consulting fee. Okay. I am
Commissioner Verrett is ready.
I need a consulting fee. Me and the Aflac Duck will be the commissioners of college football. All I need is a consulting fee. But yeah, I haven't heard anybody else propose it. Maybe somebody else has, but I just, look, I want to see Tulane do well. I'm from New Orleans. My mom got her PhD from Tulane. And so I want to see them do well, but they're Mississippi beat them. I believe it was 45-10 the first time they played. Okay. In the regular season game. Okay. So now they're going to be all keyed up, amped up. And look, and it has nothing to do with, it's no disrespect to the teams that made it, because Tulane made the college football playoff because they don't play Power 4 schools all season long, right? They play
Yep.
teams on their level in their conference, and they beat them all. Okay, so play the other best teams at your level in the playoff. Don't force them to play teams that just spend way more money on football than they do. You know, these schools have different sets of situations, different finances, different priorities. And so, you know, divide it up.
Jeff, clip Commissioner Verrett's stance right there and put it on YouTube, please, so we can get the word out and spread it to the masses.
And send it to ncaa.org or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you,
Good.
the NCAA, they're not going to be in control much longer, I don't think. I think these 4 power conferences are going to break off and they're going to do their own thing. And they're not going to be beholden to the NCAA. Because, like, what purpose is the NCAA really serving at this point? I mean, looking out for illegal payment violations? Come on, that's out the window now. Okay. You know, so academic violation. When's the last time you heard about anybody with any kind of academic violation that mattered? Okay. Either that's not happening or it's not being enforced. Performance enhancing drugs. I mean, like, what are they still regulating that needs to be regulated that the conferences couldn't do themselves if they chose to, if they teamed up and chose to? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, there's a money angle somewhere in there that I'm missing that has worked. And then look, there's more money to be made this way too, because you have more football games that matter.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
All right. That's probably why they won't do it.
Yeah. 100%. Makes way too much sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's my screed for the week.
Yeah. I think Chip Kelly had proposed something where you had 80, whatever they were, the number of Power 4 or Power 4, right? That's what they call it, Group of 4.
Yeah, well, it used to be Power 5 when there was a Pac-12. It was Power 5.
Yeah. You know why they call it the Big Ten still? Tradition. Don't get me started.
No, you're right.
You take all those schools and those are their own. They're their own group.
Yeah.
And just basically what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, something. Yep.
I mean, the go back to these budgets here. And you got, look, Washington State and Oregon State are bringing up the rear now for major conference schools, even though they're not major conference schools anymore. They're the only 2 Pac-12. So they're actually behind Central Florida. Central Florida is 52, UCF as they like to be called. They're 52. Washington State and Oregon State are 53 and 54, formerly Pac-12 schools. Okay. But then, other than that, I mean, it's like you go up the list, it's all the power schools spending the big money and making the big money. So anyway,
show me the money.
All right. Movie. Chris Paul. Right. Is that where we're going next? NBA?
I don't know that I need to talk about Chris Paul. Do you want to talk about Chris Paul?
Not really. I mean, look, he says he's at peace. I don't think he's done. Did he say he was retiring? No. So he's at peace with everything.
No, the Clippers are trying to play nice and saying we'll help facilitate a deal for him.
Yeah.
He is a Clippers legend, and they just kicked him to the curb. But we don't know what nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So, great song, Charlie Rich.
So he said, more than anything, I'm excited about being around and getting a chance to play a small role in whatever anything looks like next. So he's not eligible to be traded until December 15th at the earliest. He said he's excited about the possibility. So, he's got half a season left or 3/4 of a season left to his career. Said he's retiring after this season. So, look, I think there are teams that can help. I think he's still got enough left to play a backup role for somebody.
Hey, fellas, it's Jeff.
Let's.
Can I just interject for 1 second? Everybody can hear me.
All right, this is the producer.
Our producer Jeff is on, making his debut on the show. What do you got?
ESPN aired a 30 for 30 tonight on Stuart Scott, the late, great Stuart Scott, who all three of us worked with. Just trying to see a little story time here. Your best Stuart Scott story.
It's airing tonight at 6 p.m. our time. So in about 45 minutes, it's gonna premiere.
It's funny because
at
somebody,
9
Aishish on the chat just a second ago threw out a booyah, and then call me East Coast with a rest in peace, Stu Scott. So,
all right.
You knew Stu better than I did, Stan. I worked with him on a little bit, and he's legendary. I'll be honest, I was totally intimidated working next to him because it was like, he had a lot of personality, man.
Yeah, he really did. He changed what it meant to be a SportsCenter anchor, and I say changed it, but he was there so early. He was there in the early formative stages of SportsCenter, but he still was a change agent because he brought so much of what was happening outside of sports in the general culture, entertainment, music, movies, whatever. He brought that with him into his sportscast. And I was reading a story that Trey Wingo did an interview where he was talking about him, and he said that ESPN's management wasn't exactly supportive of Stewart at first because they're like, "Hey, man, we don't understand what you're talking about here, and we're worried that the audience doesn't understand what you're talking about here," but they weren't tapped into what was happening in American culture during that time. I think I'm in the documentary. I did an interview for it, and I hope they use what I had to say. But I'll say it here just in case I'm not in it, in case I wind up on the cutting room floor. You got to think back to when he got there and what was going on during that time in the larger culture. Okay, so during that time, we're talking about mid '90s. Okay, you had In Living Color, which was like one of the top TV shows that had a black urban influence, right? You had Martin Lawrence, very popular TV show during that time. You had music groups like Boyz II Men, New Edition. You had artists like Mariah Carey and Bobby Brown, and there was so much crossover where things that were black or urban, as it's called in radio, became mass appeal things, whether it was music or movies or whatever. And so Stewart brought a lot of the cultural zeitgeist that was going on outside of sports into sports. And people who watched In Living Color, who watched Martin Lawrence, who listened to urban radio, they got it. Because they're like, hey, oh yeah, that's the line from Martin. Shedeur, Ray Ray, and all of them. You know what I mean? That's the line from Martin. Or some of the other things that he said, some of it was just, talking slick, cool as the other side of the pillow, that kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily a reference from somewhere else. It was just kind of in that same genre, you're talking slick, on the air. And so I think when he did that, it sparked the creativity in a lot of other people to say, hey, I'm not going to try to do what Stuart Scott's doing. I'm going to do that same thing, but I'm going to do it my way. Like when you would reference a rock band, or you would reference a movie line, The Dude, or, something like that. I mean, like there is a group of people who love that movie, who are watching a highlight. They hear you reference it. And they're like, hey, man, I like that dude. You know what I mean? That dude is speaking to where I am and bringing it into sports. And Stewart did that with urban or black culture at a time when it was really, really hot. And that was a part of his success. But what he also did, and this is what Trey pointed out, Trey said, okay, cool. If you are questioning my references that have nothing to do with sports, well, I'm going to buttress that with more information and more stats and more context within that same highlight so that you can't say I'm all substance I'm all style and no substance. I'm going to give you so much substance that you're going to have to let me do the style too because you want the substance. And that's what he did. I mean, he crammed a lot of information into highlights in addition to cool as the other side of the pillow. So I think that's his lasting legacy, that he not only did it himself, but I think he sparked a lot of creativity in other people who came along later, who said, hey, man, that guy's there doing something a little bit different with this, as opposed to just a straight on rote approach. And so I'm going to do that too, but I'm going to do it my way. And I think it made ESPN better, made SportsCenter better, and it made ESPN better.
Well, and I think it also made all of us better because he set a bar on hey, I Kenny Mayne, they're the real creative guys. Like those are the two guys that I really think of as super creative. And it was always like,
and you,
like when I would work next to Stewart or next to Kenny, I felt like, okay, man, the tie's got to be cinched a little tighter. This is going to be a fun ride because these, and you got to be on the edge of my seat. I got to be ready to, if they throw something at me, I got to be ready to get it. And I want to be sitting in the front seat with them, not in the back seat, letting them drive. They're going to drive. I want to be sitting shotgun, not in the back.
Absolutely. And, we had a relationship outside of ESPN because we're in the same fraternity, both Alpha Phi Alpha men. And so I knew Stewart before I got to ESPN, and he helped smooth the transition when I got there. And, he's a competitive guy. Neil, I may have told you the story before, but this is my favorite outside of ESPN Stuart Scott story. So we're playing golf at East Lake in Atlanta. Okay. And the same guy's caddying for both of us. And so we get to Stewart wants to compete. Okay. So we're tied after the front nine. And so we're on the back nine. I don't remember exactly what hole it was, but I hit my drive and I'm over in the right rough. And Stewart hits his drive and he's over in the left rough. So he's away. So the caddy goes over to him first. And, I'm looking at my lie in this rough, and this rough is thick and it's nasty. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can get this ball to the green from this rough. So Stewart hits his shot and puts his ball on the green. And I'm like, man, what an amazing shot from that rough. So I'm like, okay, the pressure's on me now, because it's match play. And I got to try to at least salvage a half on this hole. So the caddy comes over to me, pulls a wedge out of my bag, and he starts fluffing my ball up in the rough. And I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing, man? I'll play it as it lies. And he said, okay, well, you're going to lose because he's doing it. So I said, hey, well, put mine on a tee. If that's what we're doing, put mine on a tee so I can get it up on the green.
There you go.
But, really competitive guy. And, a lot of fun to be around, because, he was Stuart Scott and he knew he was Stuart Scott. And he knew people were always watching him and wanted to see Stuart Scott when they saw him. And so he was never hesitant to give him a little Stuart Scott when he saw people out in public. And I think all of that will come out in the documentary, that he was on almost all the time,
He was the dude, and the dude abides.
Absolutely.
I think that's a strong note to end it on, Stanley, unless you've got something else you want to add.
No, we usually plan to go an hour, so we've given 23 minutes of bonus entertainment here tonight.
Yeah,
no charge.
Thank you, and nobody's paying us to do it either. So,
Delta, you can change that.
Yeah, come on, Delta. Come on, where's Waiakea water? Come on, let's go.
All right, okay, man.
Good
stuff, I'll see you next week. Enjoy the Heisman ceremony, man. It's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. Everybody love everybody, man. Be cool. Coach D.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
How's it? Do you know what time it is?
Let's go. The Stan and Neil Show. 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 With Stan, oh Stan, he's the man. And who's Stan's biggest fan? Well,
It's Neil.
and Neil, oh Neil, he keeps it real. And that's why Neil's the deal. Stan and Neil back together again, spreading the love with all their old friends. Let's go! Stan and Neil back together for you, keeping it cool, 'cause Colts are raw. The Stan and Neil show. 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 The Stan and Neil show.
Yeah. All right, let me hear it all back. See what we got so far.
So shout out to Coach D for the jingle, the Stan and Neil jingle.